Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's Roshan Mohammed Salih here, the editor of Five Pillars, and this is The Big Picture, our weekly show, which breaks down the main issues facing the Ummah each week and analyzes it in depth. And today we're only going to deal with one subject. Usually we talk about two subjects, but today we're just going to talk about what's going on in Pakistan. Over the weekend, a top Sunni leader, Maulana Adil Khan, was assassinated in a hit attack outside a shopping mall in Karachi. This comes on the back of sectarian tensions in that country over the last few weeks, since Muharram, in fact, when Sunni leaders accused Shias of provoking and cursing the Sahaba, which led to marches in Karachi, huge ones, in fact. Some called them sectarian marches, anti-Shia marches. Others said that it was these were marches defending the honor of the Sahaba. But now we have this assassination of a top Sunni leader in the midst of a powder keg atmosphere. So today we're going to be asking what's going on in Pakistan. What could this possibly lead to? Who's to blame? Who killed Maulana Adil Khan? And we've got a Pakistani British Sunni guest coming on very shortly, and we have a Pakistani British Shia guest coming on later. We're going to be tackling this subject in depth. We're going to be asking probing questions, but inshallah, we're going to do it in an atmosphere of mutual respect. But before we get into that, I want to just go through some of the top stories, like I always do, that have really caught the attention of Five Pillars leaders on the Five Pillars website this past week. And without a doubt, a story that went completely viral concerned this lady, Sophie Petronin, who was a French hostage in Mali, who shocked France by announcing on the day of her kind of a release from that hostage situation that she had converted to Islam. And here she is, Sophie Petronin. The 75-year-old aid worker regained her freedom after being held captive by the support group for Islam and Muslims, which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda. In fiercely secular France, the fact that she converted to the religion of her captors has provoked huge controversy, especially among the far right. Now, our second most popular story this week concerned an Indian Bollywood actress called Sana Khan, who announced that she had given up the entertainment industry, given up all those Bollywood films, because she had found Islam again. Now, Sana Khan, and here she is, bringing up a picture of her, has millions of followers on her different social media platforms. And she's been part of several reality TV shows in India, such as Big Boss, and also featured in many Bollywood films. But in a social media post on Thursday, she dubbed her decision to leave showbiz as her happiest day, mashallah. And finally, a story here from the UK, Regent's Park Mosque, or London Central Mosque. All Muslims in London will know it well. Well, basically, a Muslim convert admitted stabbing the imam there back in February. He was in Southwark Crown Court. His name is Daniel Horton. And Daniel Horton is a 30-year-old Muslim convert. He admitted to knifing Imam Rafat Maglad, who's 70, during Asr prayers before members of the congregation rushed to help him and stop Horton from fleeing. No motive has yet been established for the attack. Okay, before we get our guest on, we are going to have a quick look at the CCTV footage outside that shopping mall in Karachi, which unfortunately showed the assassination of Maulana Adil Khan. So basically, there are three, you'll watch the video, it's without sound. Just to explain before I play it, there are three assailants on a motorbike. They go up to Maulana Adil Khan and they shoot him while he is sitting in his car. And then they flee in their motorbike, and no one knows who they were, and they haven't been caught yet. Here's the footage. Okay, so I'm delighted to announce that I have Bashara Ali online with me. Bashara Ali, Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you doing?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very well, Jazakallah. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. I should introduce you before asking you the questions of getting into this topic. So Bashara, I mean, I've known Bashara for a long, long time. Bashara is a political analyst. He is a khatib as well. Bashara Ali is probably quite a very familiar face for a lot of British Muslims. Done a lot of appearances on Islamic channels over the years. And Bashara, you are also of Pakistani origin. Is that right? Is that the case?
Yes, indeed.
Whereabouts in Pakistan are you from?
I'm originally from the north of Pakistan, Kashmir, originally Azad Kashmir.
Yeah, I've been there once in my life as well. I actually covered the earthquake in 2007, I think it was. Horrendous earthquake, and went to Islamabad, went to Kashmir. Beautiful country, beautiful people, and I wish I could go there again very soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Without further ado, Bashar, because we already have loads of comments actually, and I want to get through some comments. But can you explain to the viewers, I guess a lot of Pakistanis will be familiar with who Maulana Adil Khan was, but for perhaps, you know, our non-Pakistani viewers and also our Pakistani viewers who need to gen up a little bit on their Pakistani current affairs, who was Maulana Adil Khan?
May Allah have mercy upon him. He was a son of Salimullah Khan, his late father, who was one of the great scholars of the subcontinent. And post-partition, his father migrated to what is modern-day Pakistan. And he set up in 1967 Jamia Farooqia. It's an internationally renowned university based in Karachi, one of the big ones. You have Darul Uloom Karachi, you have Jamia Binoria, and you have this institution. And this was set up with the blessings of Mufti Muhammad Shafi, who was Sheikh al-Pakistan, you can say, in the 60s. And of course, this institution is well known in Pakistan and throughout the Muslim world. So he himself had a PhD, he was a doctor, he was very well known in his own right. From 2010 to 2018, he was teaching at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. So he's a household name for those who follow Islamic affairs in Pakistan and amongst the ulama. May Allah rest his soul, inshallah.
And it's fair to say that he was a very well-known Sunni, I think, Deobandi leader in Pakistan.
Very much so. I mean, he'd just been to visit Sheikh Taqi Usmani, who is very well renowned internationally as a sheikh and an alim. And that's the sort of context to this discussion, that he just visited him, he was on his way home, and he was slaughtered by some cowards who had some insidious agenda, no doubt.
Yeah, may Allah have mercy on him. What do you think happened, Bashara? I guess there are two theories at the moment. The main theory being propagated by the Pakistani government and officials, and many people I've spoken to as well, is that this was the work of India, tried to subvert and take advantage and exploit sectarian tensions in Pakistan. But I have heard some, Sunni Muslims at street level, I guess, and also on social media, they're blaming this on Shia armed groups. What do you think happened?
Well, look, speculation is never good. And therefore, one ought not to speculate and fan fires of hatred or sectarianism. Now, who are the people that potentially could benefit? One has to look at this in the context of who stands to lose, who stands to gain, and then who killed him and why did he die? We can get to that later. There's no doubt that India would have an issue of fanning sectarian hatred and killing in Pakistan. It's very well known. If you look at, just to give you a couple of examples, when Abhinandan, the pilot, came to bomb Pakistan, was shot down. When the government caught him, they handed him back quicker than he flew over the border. Now, he was captured on a mission to kill. Khulbashan Jadev, the Indian commander who was spy master, who, according to the evidence from Pakistan, has numerous terrorist incidents on his hand. It's been established he was an undercover operative. And he is also in custody receiving 7-star treatment from the establishment. So it's all very well pointing the finger at India. But when you apprehend people and they're not punished properly, it sort of rings hollow in the minds of those who are suffering. So India is definitely a potential culprit. Equally, people have mentioned Shia Sunni sectarian violence, and it's a possibility. Of course it is. But again, you cannot speculate about that. You could have other countries involved in this as well. It's not simply a linear equation. Of course, people think emotionally, and when somebody so loved and welcomed in Pakistan is slain like that, after his comments about the insults of the great Sahaba. May Allah be pleased with all of the
What
Sahaba.
did he say? What did he say, Bashar? I know he gave a speech at the recent marches in Karachi.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we send salawat and salam on all of the Prophet ﷺ, on all of his wives, and on all of the Sahaba, the Khulafa Rashideen, and all that follow them on the Ahl al-Bayt, and all who followed them until the Day of Judgment. They're all noble and sacred in Islam. Now, he simply said, very measured, very calm, nothing emotional. I listened to the speech. Words to the effect that if you protect the sanctities of the Pakistani army and officers and various institutions, then the Khulafa Rashideen, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala an, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala an, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala an, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the Sahaba, all of them, they're sacred. They all must be protected. So in essence, this slaying reveals a security and law and order, public order problem in Pakistan.
I want to just pick you up on something you said a few minutes ago about, you alluded to Pakistan and India perhaps not playing a straight game, perhaps the Pakistani authorities not being completely straight with the public either. What do you think is going on there? I mean, on the face of it, there are enemies. Imran Khan recently lambasted India during his UN speech. The Indians did the same to the Pakistanis. What's going on here? What behind the scenes, what do you think is happening?
Well, look, India caught a Pakistani national. Remember when the terrorist attack in Mumbai took place? They hung him. They didn't pay lip service. They convicted him, whether it was a fair trial or not, Allahu Alam, but the evidence is that the Indian courts convicted him, all appeals were dismissed, and he was hung as a deterrent to others. So India saw through it. They caught a Pakistani terrorist and they hung him. Pakistan, on the other hand, gives the establishment, not the people who control what's going on, are not protecting the public, and therefore when law and order is not being maintained, whether it's, for example, it could be linked to the open insults against the Sahaba, which have become public recently, but to say it's a Shia Sunni sectarian thing is a gross generalization and oversimplification, because many Shia ulama condemned the perpetrator of this ghastly and vile sort of alluding to the honor of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq or Umar ibn al-Khattab. These are fringe elements who are being given center stage, but the duty of the government is to protect the honor and sanctity of the sha'air, the symbols of Islam.
I know that the blasphemy law, for example, is a big thing in Pakistan, and I'm not sure whether it has been extended to protect the sanctities of revered figures, that Sunnis revere, such as the Khulafa Rashidun, or whether that is still not the case. Can you clarify that?
Well, look, the law of Pakistan, there are plenty of laws there to protect the honor, because public order mentions a public order ordinance. There are various provisions. The problem is not with the lack of provisions. The problem is with the lack of will to implement. And law is there to deter. If you get to the stage of en masse hanging people, you failed. Because the purpose is not this is an Orientalist argument about barbarity amongst Muslim countries and all this sort of thing. No, it's deterrence, and that requires a statewide response. Now, no state is foolproof or perfect. The most well-resourced countries do have problems, and I don't want to give an incorrect impression. But in Pakistan, if people can brazenly, for example, insult the Sahaba, or if the Indian agents who are captured are getting the 6-star treatment, whilst Pakistani people like the husband of Amina Janjua, who has been disappeared for the last 15 years because he challenged the disappearance of people in Pakistan, or Afia Siddiqui was given to the Americans by the state. So if you can take action where it's convenient for the establishment, or the case of Naveed Bhatt, who's been missing for 8 years for calling for Islam in Pakistan, not for sectarianism. And if these sort of things are taking place, then the problem is a political problem. It's a political failing. It is not anything less than that, and the answer must be a political answer.
What about the sectarian situation in Pakistan at the moment? I mean, I understand the country is probably 80% Sunni, 20% Shia, something like that. I mean, I'm not sure when the last time you were in Pakistan was. Is it a powder keg, or are we exaggerating?
Not at all. These are exaggerated issues for people to serve their ends. these things have been going on for a very long time. So, the issue of Sipah Sahaba, and Sipah Muhammad, these go back to the 1980s under the late Ziaul Haq's reign.
These were kind of Sunni armed groups and Shia armed groups.
Yeah. So what you have is this sort of takfiri mentality where individuals take the law into their own hands is not from Islam. Due process must be followed. It is the job of the state to protect the sanctities and the people, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim is irrelevant, quite frankly. The law should be there to protect all. Slandering anyone is haram. Slandering any human being is haram. Killing any innocent person is haram. And so the Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very plain. Killing anyone is like killing all of humanity. So the Deen of Islam is very clear. The difficulty you have is that sectarian tensions will mount when the state, Raymond Davis killed 3 Pakistanis in broad daylight in Lahore under
CIA
Musharraf.
guy, yeah.
He was special ops. He wasn't no ordinary CIA. This man from a moving car is able to shoot 3 people dead through a windscreen. He was super special services, whatever the equivalent in America is. I forget the actual title. And when that happens, then you have to point the finger, because these sort of short-termist political ideas to serve short-term political goals, if that be the case, do not help any human being. And look, suffering is suffering. Whether a Sunni scholar dies or is killed, or a Shia is, or a Christian is, and it's done as a form of vigilantism, direct action, that suggests that the state is not discharging its duty. And this, which comes to the real essence of this problem, actually, because the post-colonial sort of dying system that Indian subcontinent inherited after partition is still running. So this system, which is supposed to protect all and preserve all of the sanctities of Islam, and look, we get the Quran and the Sunnah through the Sahaba. They're all protected. All of the Ahlul Bayt are noble and sacred for all Muslims. So we do not look at individuals, and individuals will do bad things. And if it is taught from childhood throughout, and the law is brought down hard without fear or favor, then nobody can have an excuse.
But Basharat, what did you make of those? Let me ask you a two-pronged question. What did you make of the alleged comments by a certain Shia during Muharram? And what did you make of those marches in Karachi, those huge marches that we saw in Karachi a few weeks ago? Some Shia were labeling them anti-Shia marches, hate speech, etc. Sunnis were saying, no, we're defending the honor of the Sahaba. What's your take?
Well, look, let's be very honest. I don't take a sectarian view on this. The Quran and the Sunnah define how we look at these matters. Any person who insults the Sahaba, whether they call themselves Sunni, whether they call themselves Shia, they are in grave sin, and they must be punished by the law. If the state can't do it, then individuals take the law into their own hands. I'm not endorsing or defending individuals taking the law into their own hands. And anybody who says to the state, you must stop publicly the people who are, and Asif Alwi is one of these people who fled Pakistan. So it happened in Islamabad. It's not that this was happening in some little remote dugout cave in the middle of nowhere. This is offending by the state. The state, I mean, hundreds of people have been booked, by the way, or prevented under various ordinances in Pakistan for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, when people can fly out of Islamabad or whichever airport this person left from, it shows that people at a very high level are turning the blind eye or not.
Yeah, you don't have much faith in. You don't have much faith in the state or the police finding the killers.
Well, no, because the executive orders the establishment. So if the state at the executive level orders, this is the government, orders things to be done, they get done. Afia Siddiqui was handed over to America. Naveed Bhatt is still in prison. Amina Janjur's husband is 15 years still in prison. So nobody here is against the state of Pakistan. I'm not against the institutions of Pakistan. It is individuals who are neglecting or abdicating their duty and responsibility. Yeah. And a political problem requires political solutions. And then when there are no political solutions, then there is political accountability. So from that perspective, we have to say, whether it was Ziaul Haq's time, whether it was Musharraf's time, whether it was Benazir Bhutto's time, Nawaz Sharif's time, each time you can see security problems, law and order problems, sectarian problems, nationalist problems, whether it's Baluchi, Sindhi, Punjabi, Pakhtun, and so on. So you're not solving the problems of the people, and you're not protecting every individual, Muslim or non-Muslim, Shia, Sunni, Christian, and so on.
Bashar, last question before we take some comments, because mashallah, people have been leaving comments and I want you to respond to a few of them. So
Yes.
how do you see the future? Is this a really kind of, seminal moment for, sectarian relations in Pakistan? Could this flare up into something we don't want to see, which is violence?
Well, look, we do not want to see violence on the streets. So if you only have to look at Iraq, when, enduring freedom, what that brought to Iraq, there was no sectarian violence in Iraq between Sunni and Shia. It was very minimal at that. I'm not for one moment endorsing Saddam Hussein, by the way, before somebody tries to throw that straw person argument. So in Pakistan, many people, look, Musharraf, when he invited America in, you never had suicide bombings in Pakistan until Musharraf's era. Since then, 70,000 plus Pakistani people have been killed or martyred fighting America's war. So you can't allow foreign influence and foreign powers and foreign players. And the Pakistani intelligence services, MI, ISI, IB, they are very efficient. Political will, establishment must step up and take responsibility and solve the problem.
All right, Bashara, let's Jazakallah khair for your thoughts. Let's take some comments. We've got loads of comments here. I'm going to skip quite a few of them because they're just kind of saying salam alaikum. I say walaikum salam back to everybody. Muhammad Abdul Khalik says this is the work of the Indian Secret Service. Fuad Ahmed says, why do Muslims react with killings and flag burnings to incidents like this in Pakistan? Charlie Hebdo or Salman Rushdie used newspaper comments, dialogue, and lectures instead. What do you think of that, Bashara?
Well, the first one, look, foreign powers get involved because when you see the key issue here, that a state, if it's India, why did you give Abhinandan back? Why is Kulbhushan Jadhav getting the 7-star treatment? India is emboldened by this. If it is India, I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm not going to, because it's convenient to throw it at the Indians. No doubt, India has a massive hand. MQM and things like that are linked, many commentators say, to the Balochi national movements, the secessionist movements in Balochistan, they're based in India. So India, of course, has an interest because it will say to you, Pakistan used to foment and is fomenting violence in India. So it's a tit for tat thing, and it's the job of Pakistan to protect.
What about the not going out to protest, but just staying indoors and writing newspaper columns?
Well, look, this is a matter of judgment and evaluation. From the Sunnah of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we know in Makkah they went out in 2 rows according to the Seerah and they marched. So demonstrating is a form of Umar bin Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar, and we adopt that as a principle. We don't follow this freedom of speech or freedom of belief because that comes from a specific aqidah and a specific framework. Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar is what we do, and it's permissible and it's appropriate. People should do it. Yes.
Okay. It's Anu. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Could this be an inside job of the ISI?
I don't think so. It doesn't serve their purpose at all.
Fuad Ahmed says the Sunni-Shia rivalry comes into play only when there are questions of political primacy and resource distribution. It isn't actually the religious differences that cause infighting. Muslim says Pakistani government should do more to stop intersectarian conflicts. Comment on that?
Well, the key point is everybody should do as much as they can. Look, in Pakistan, there's no ghettos. Sunnis and Shias live, as do Christians in the big cities of Pakistan, in the neighborhoods. They have relationships. They see each other work together. If you had 40 million people fighting 160 million, there would be a bloodbath. There isn't. This is overly exaggerated, but the issue is sanctity of the Sahaba, if you want to focus on that. But it's broader than that. Security, public order, and that's the key issue here.
Okay, let's take a few more comments. Waji Rahman says, in order to solve the problem, you need to first clearly identify it. There are a growing number of armed Shiite groups in Pakistan, many of them returning from Syria. Let's take a few more comments. We have many, mashallah. Let me find my place again because I've just lost it. James Khan says to cause a sectarian war with Pakistan. IP News 24 says Jazakallah khair for raising the issue of missing persons, especially Sister Afia Siddiqui and politician Naveed Butt. 786 Math says, why is it when scholars get killed, attackers never get found? Why have these attackers who tried to murder Mufti Taqi Usmani never been found? Is it a few people saying ISI inside job? I'm not sure what the advantage is for the ISI though. When democracy is in effect, tyranny is rife. May Allah protect our scholars. Let's take one or two before I bring Bashara in again. Free Afia Siddiqui. The judge smirked as he sentenced an innocent woman in America Not one Muslim country has said a thing. No wonder Allah has sent us this disease. Muzamil says, in my opinion, the geographic condition of Pakistan makes it a lawless state. It becomes important for such geographically weak country to keep clandestine cells to counter border weakness and hybrid warfare. You know, Bashara, I do hear a lot of kind of, I guess non-Muslims would call them conspiracy theories. And I don't want to call them that because I'm actually partial to, as long as there's some evidence, I'm partial to conspiracy theory. But do you think the Pakistanis go a little bit too far, blaming this one, that one, without any evidence whatsoever? Not just Pakistanis, but Muslims in general.
Well, look, if you don't understand and analyze the facts as you find them, and then look to join the dots, political analysis, political reality is not fixed. There's no mathematical formula to this, but there are certain patterns and certain policy frameworks which you look at. So in the context of that, we know that America, by the way, the comment that Pakistan is lawlessness is not true. The country which is 200 million plus, the lawlessness started because of what Musharraf in particular did recently, and before that when Ziaul Haq garnered the MQM and Altaf Hussain in Karachi to break the Sindhi and the Jamaat-e-Islami, because Jamaat-e-Islami was hugely popular in Karachi in the 1980s, and it was a potential competitor to Ziaul Haq, the late Ziaul Haq, and the Benazir Bhutto and the PPP because of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in Sindh. So these were short-term political gains which were destructive to Pakistan.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. One or two more comments. Is the guest a Shia? No, you're not. You're definitely not a Shia. You're a proud Sunni Muslim. I'm
a Sunni. I'm a Muslim, and I'm not sectarian.
Mohammed Assad said Iran suggested by many directly affected by this incident. Soft Learner says how they can find killers while planners are sitting in Pakistan government. Zulfi Bukhari, Qureshi, Ali Shia, People's Party, etc., etc. They're all target killers. And finally, India did this to create sectarian violence in Pakistan, which seems to be the consensus of the comments that we're getting. Jazakallah khair, Bashara. Really appreciate you coming on today for your words of wisdom and for sticking around to take the comments.
Jazakallah khair. I just want to say one final thing. Look, we've got to dump emotional responses and jumping to sectarian knee-jerk conclusions. Follow the events, think about what you see, analyze it, and then respond. That's what Islam teaches us, rather than be impulsive, which is in nobody's benefit and nobody's interest. Jazakallah khair.
All right. Jazakallah khair. That's Bashara Ali, Khatib and political analyst, talking to us today from the Islamic Republic of Luton, I believe. Yeah. All right. Okay, that was Bashara Ali. And we are going to get more comments from you guys a little bit later on, but I'm going to take that comment off the screen if I possibly can. I'll figure it out. This technology does my head, and I'm getting too old for all this. I'll figure it out later on. Look, we're going to go into a video now because we're going to get, before we get our second guest on, he hasn't yet come online, but inshallah he will in a few minutes. We're going to remind ourselves of those huge marches in Karachi just a few weeks ago, hundreds of thousands of people on consecutive days, all basically, you got 2 points of view. The conventional narrative is that they were defending the honor of the Sahaba, but there are some Shia groups online who have said that ultimately these were hate speech marches, or at least there were hate speech elements amongst the people on those marches. Let's have a look at what happened, and inshallah, after the video, we'll get our second guest on.
तमाम तंजीमात जमात अहले सुन्नत फारूक की अदालत उस्मान की सरमाया वो कौम मर जाए वो उम्मत मर जाए वो अपने मुर्दाबाद 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 नीचे तस्वीर रखेंगे
Okay, I'm delighted to be joined by Nazim Ali. You got your name as Nazim there, like one name, very informal here, Nazim. Nazim Ali, who is from the Islamic Human Rights Commission. Nazim, you're Pakistani as well, right? Where are you from originally in Pakistan?
Lahore.
You're from Lahore. Okay, so that's in the Punjab, isn't it? So that's probably
the Punjab.
Second biggest city in Pakistan?
Yeah, population-wise, definitely, and size-wise after Karachi, yeah.
Nazim, could you come a little bit closer to the, I can't hear you very well. Can you turn the sound up a little bit so that we can all hear? Can you count to 10 just to make sure that we can hear you properly?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
If your voice is a bit low, Nazim, for some reason.
I will wake the neighbours up at 7.
So if you shout a little bit when you talk, that would be great.
Yeah.
So Nazim, thanks for joining us.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm not sure whether you watched the first half of the show, but we had Bashar Ali on, and we won't go into that, but I'll get straight into asking you what you thought of the assassination of Maulana Adil Khan in Karachi over the weekend.
Yeah, no, it was a sad event to occur in Pakistan. I think the murder of any innocent person is a sad event. And when that innocent person is somebody who's an esteemed scholar as well, it just makes it that more, sorrowful to hear. Look, we can sit here and I don't know what your previous speaker said. You'll forgive me. I was unfortunately busy, couldn't hear the first part of the program. But we're in a situation where it's a tinderbox situation to a degree of what's going on in Pakistan. But we've got to understand what's the lay of the land there. You can't just use one incident and then use that one incident to describe everything what's going on. What's the lay of the land? Who benefits from what's happening or what's happened? And in whose interest is it to have any scholar from any fiqh, from any mother, be it Shia, Sunni, Barelvi, Deobandi, to be murdered? Who's actually benefiting from that? That's what we've got to understand.
Who do you think did it?
I don't know who did it, but I know who probably didn't do it. And the people who didn't do it is the people of Pakistan didn't do it. That's for sure. The people.
I guess there's two theories. The government is saying that this was India, and they've done it to subvert and exploit the sectarian divides in Pakistan. We saw some, I think, Indian generals or commanders blatantly say on social media that the way to undermine Pakistan, to destabilize Pakistan, is to exploit the Sunni Shia sectarian tensions. But other people, that's the official line. But other people on the ground in Karachi, I've heard, are blaming it on Shia armed groups. What do you say to that?
No, there's nothing to be gained from it. Look, there's nothing to be gained from one sect killing another sect's leaders. No one's going to gain anything from that. The only people who gain are those who want to see a destabilized Pakistan. And we can start counting those countries. India is possibly one of them. Saudi Arabia is possibly one of them. The countries we sort of live in and sit in and earn our bread in are possibly one of them as well. So Pakistan has been a playing ground for a lot of these countries in order to, when it suits them, to bring up this sectarian conflict. And I've put it in inverted commas because, you know what? The vast majority of Pakistanis intermarry. They live peacefully in harmony with each other. For those people who've never been to Pakistan, they may have a picture of, you can't call yourself this, you can't call yourself that. You know what? A lot of it is absolutely, there's no issues whatsoever. You look at what's happening in Muharram, you look in Ramadan, no issues whatsoever.
But Nazim, you can't deny that there has been a history of sectarian violence in Pakistan. We can argue over numbers, but there have been both Sunni and Shia armed groups in Pakistan that have attacked each other, etc., etc. So to say there's no issue isn't really accurate, is it?
The issue is taken beyond the proportion so that anybody sat outside or unaware will think, this is the status quo in Pakistan. There is constant tension between Sunnis and Shias. There isn't. Sorry to let a lot of people down. There isn't. There's a lot of harmony. There's a lot of love. You have extremists on both sides. That exists in every community. That's within communities as well. There are extremists. There are Khwarijis, there are Nasibis, there are Rafidis. There are all these different types of extremists which exist within all communities, even in this country.
What did you make of the events? Let's take the events during Muharram, because obviously from certain Deobandi scholars have basically said that there were Shias who were cursing the Sahaba during Muharram. Your comments on that? I mean, I guess from a Sunni perspective, if that's going to happen, there will be a reaction. Not necessarily, no one's condoning a violent reaction or anything like that. But if that happens, there will be a reaction. Do you acknowledge that?
Look, there is a scholarly way of looking at this, where the ulama have accepted each other as Muslims. Okay, whether it's the four madhabs within Sunni Islam and the one madhab within Shia Islam, the Fiqh Jafi, each have accepted each other as Muslims. So that's the basis for it. And within those books, I'm not a scholar, but listening to what the ulama of both respected schools of thought say, there's a lot of stuff in there that each and every one could take exception to. Each and one could be offended by. There's plenty of that stuff going on. Even within what's written within inter-sect books, there's enough things to be offended by. So I don't think that's the cause. This was used as an excuse. Muharram is not the first Muharram that's happened in Pakistan. It's not the first time Ziyarati Ashura has been recited in Pakistan.
Yes.
This has been going on since the creation of Pakistan.
Nazim, I mean, I know that some Sunnis want to extend, I'm not sure if it's already been done, but they want to extend the blasphemy law, which exists in Pakistan, to basically protecting the sanctity of the Sahaba. It's particularly incendiary, isn't it, for a majority Sunni nation when, revered figures like Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhum, they are cursed and they are traduced.
We can go around in circles on this. The Shia ulama, the two biggest Shia ulama, Ayatollah Sistani in Iraq and Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran, have actually issued fatwas on this and said it's haram, it's forbidden to curse any one of the Sahabas whom the Sunni brothers revere. So anybody doing that, doesn't matter what sect they belong to, or within Islam, anyone who's doing that is going against their teachings. This isn't.
But there are, I guess, I'm not sure if it's a minority. It probably is. There are a minority of Shias who will do that. What you seem to be implying earlier is that you kind of live and let live. But what my question to you is, that realistic?
Of course, it's realistic. It's just about what's your premise for living and let living? Is it because we love each other as human beings? We love the deen of Islam. We want to protect each other's honor, which is wajib on each other to protect it. Are we there to respect each other, which is wajib on us to respect each other? That's what we're meant to be doing. Differences have occurred since time dot. So, the whole Islamic history is full of differences between communities.
What do you make of the marches in Karachi, Nazim? Because obviously, Sunnis would say that they were defending the honor of the Sahaba. I've seen a lot of stuff online. Just finish my question 1 second.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of stuff online from Shia groups basically saying that they were hate marches, that they were anti-Shia marches. What's your point of view?
First of all, I think it's disingenuous to use the term these are Sunni marches, with all respect, because the vast majority of Sunnis have nothing to do with it at all, with these type of marches. Marches where basically you're doing takfir. This is a takfiri group. These were takfiri marches by takfiri-minded people, no different to the takfiris that existed in Iraq, Syria, and so on and so forth. The head chopping mob, basically. So when you've got that lot marching down the streets of Karachi, that's called a spade a spade. That's what it was.
Is it unfair to characterize it like that, Nazim? Because the Sunnis that I've spoken to in Pakistan anyway, they said, look, there might have been a few extremists there. They probably definitely were anti-Shia chants there. But to label hundreds of thousands of people, which was ultimately what the march numbered, to label them all extremists and head choppers or whatever, or ISIS, is going way too far.
No, I mean, look, I'm speaking slightly, I'm exaggerating that for the purpose of the debate, but in the sense of that when you look at who was on the stage in these type of marches, when you look at who is getting the headlines in these marches, when you look at who's gaining from these protests, there's only one group, and that's the Takfiri group. So that's why I label it as a Takfiri mob. At the end of the day, look, the honor and the sanctity, be of the Ahl al-Bayt, be it of the Sahaba and everything, that's for all of us to respect. And we do. What we have is extremists on both sides. That's what we're dealing with, who are controlled by the outside. They're not controlled by the inside. They're controlled by the outside. Who benefits from all this? Who benefits from seeing Sunnis and Shias at loggerheads or what have you?
Nazim, what about I see a lot. I see this hashtag all the time on Facebook and Twitter. Shia genocide. Is there really a Shia genocide going on in Pakistan?
I mean, I might upset some of my Shia colleagues on this one, but I don't think the word genocide is appropriate. But Shia killings is definitely appropriate, I think, in Pakistan. You know, we only have to look at what's been happening and happened in the past, especially with the Hazara community in Quetta and the way they've been targeted, men being pulled off buses and had their IDs checked. No different to what was happening in Iraq and so on and so forth, under ISIS. That's their inspiration. So there has been, over a period of time, targeted Shia killings of doctors, engineers, professionals, lay people, so on and so forth. And that has occurred, yes. Genocide, I think,
is that historical or is it still ongoing?
There was a bit of a flare up just now in Muharram again. There's a few people who were murdered, Shias were murdered, representatives of mosques and local Imam Bargas and mosques and so on and so forth, done deliberately to incite. Again, who's benefiting from it? Who is going to benefit from all creating sectarian rifts in Pakistan? And we know who benefits. It's, you know, that's what we've got to
I mean, my first guest, I posed the same question to my first guest, and he basically said that there was sectarian tension, but it was overblown. So I guess you're taking the same point of view.
But look, sectarian tension. What do you define as sectarian tension?
I guess something short of violence now, because I guess most of it is words, stuff going around on social media.
So we just
at the moment, it's not violence.
We just had the Arba'in procession in Karachi as well as the whole of Pakistan. Okay, the Sunnis were there in big numbers, serving water, serving Jews, providing food. Two predominantly Shia marches commemorating the 40th of Imam Hussein. Is that tension? Is that sectarian tension? I don't think it is. There are extremists in Pakistan, there's no doubt, who get paid a handsome sum by those outside of the country to create disunity on both sides. That's what's going on here. The vast majority of Pakistanis have nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Families and intermarriage.
So do you think, I mean, Pakistan is a country where I guess it's the plaything of lots of foreign powers. I mean, I guess the USA is involved, Saudi Arabia is involved, Iran's involved, China's involved. It's not an independent country at all, is it?
From that perspective, if you look at the geopolitics of Pakistan, it's very interesting. There is a lot of external influence. There is a lot of money being sent in there to destabilize it or have their groups to do their bidding for them and so on and so forth. You've got the army, which one way swings one way, then swings the other way, which is, as you mentioned and alluded to, they didn't back Saudi Arabia in this instance, and lo and behold, all of a sudden we have an issue in Pakistan. So I think we know where that came from. They didn't manage to ignite the sectarian feud simply because ulama from both Sunni and Shia came together and said, we're not going to allow this to happen. See, that's what you got to understand. Where is the ulama on this? And the ulama from the Sunnis and the Shias are unanimous. They will not allow action.
You just broke up there for a second, but I think I got your gist. Okay, before we got loads of comments here, Nazim, and I want you to stick around for them. So I'm going to ask you one last question. I mean, how do you see the future? Because obviously, with the assassination, there is fear of a backlash. You know, tit for tat attacks, a sectarian explosion. Do you think that's going to happen?
I hope it doesn't happen. Again, who will benefit from it happening? You know, the mainstream Sunnis in Pakistan won't benefit. The mainstream Shias in Pakistan won't benefit. No one benefits in Pakistan. So who benefits? It's the external forces who will benefit because they're trying to create something that's not really there. And that's what we've got to be mindful of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Nazim. Let's take. We got loads of comments here, so we'll take 3 or 4, and then we'll stop and we'll comment, inshallah. So Anayat says India did this to create sectarian violence in Pakistan. Dawood King says Iran and China are in strategic alliance, so let's not upset the Shia in Pakistan. Muzammil says till Kashmir issue is not resolved, Pakistan will suffer internally because of the alliance of these South international networks. By the way, salam from Kashmir. Okay, delighted to have Kashmiri viewers as well, not just UK viewers. Mamouna says in Pakistan we blame everything by saying India did this or it's a Zionist agenda. Yeah, is it too easy and too convenient to blame outside powers, Nazim?
It's not about blaming outside powers. It's about ground reality. Ground reality is this: there are groups in Pakistan, extremist groups on both sides, which are funded by external sources. That's pretty much evident. One only has to look at who gets visas to come into this country from either groups and who gets visas to go to other countries from groups. And that sort of helps you understand what's the lay of the land here, what's going on. So I think it's not about that every time something happens, you blame India or blame Zionism or so on and so forth. Put that to one side. It's about, does it benefit the average Pakistani for this to happen? No, it doesn't. So it's not the average Pakistani who's doing this. So who's doing it then? That's the way.
Okay, Muslim says, I think there are some in the Pakistani government who want a conflict to go down. Also, big up. Oh, thank you. I had to read that one out, didn't I?
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Are there internal elements in Pakistan who want a sectarian conflict?
I'm sure there are, because again, are they representing Pakistan or are they representing their own interests at the end of the day? We've always had this issue in Pakistan, from my limited knowledge on Pakistan politics, with those self-serving MPs, self-serving people within society who really only care about themselves and making money and getting power. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Nazim is definitely Shia. Well, Nazim is Shia, actually, so I think he's proud of that as well. Waqas Akhtar says, very well said, the Shia have nothing to gain from killing this revered figure. Blaming India, this is Muzammil blaming India theory has its own possibility. After abrogation of Article 370 here in Kashmir, India spread a lot of propaganda against Kashmiri Shias. R says, the unfortunate truth is that for Shias, Sunnis are their main enemy. Nazim?
The unfortunate truth is that for Shias, Sunnis are utter rubbish. I mean, sorry, maybe a response to you is because it's absolute nonsense.
I like this one. Nazim or Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen. That's the best
That's going back
comment of the evening. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Pakistan should outlaw Muharram and Ashura.
Yeah, why not? And also get rid of Christmas as well, and get rid of Eid al-Milad an-Nabi, and let's all just live in an ISIS state. Why not?
Shias always use the name of Saudi to propagate against Sunnis. So yeah, you did basically intimate that Pakistani Sunnis are in the pocket of Saudi Arabia.
No, I did not say that. I said extremist elements. Extremist elements. And okay. I actually pulled you up on it and said, do not refer to them as Sunnis, because I don't.
Waqas says, everyone is armed to the teeth in Pakistan. Everyone got at least one gun. Yeah, that makes it worse, doesn't it? I mean, literally, it's easy to be violent in Pakistan and get away with it.
It is, because there is an issue of law and order, but that's not just a Sunni Shia thing. That's just a societal problem they've got there, over land issues, over this issue or that issue. They can pull a gun out. And that happens in villages. That's not about a city thing or a Sunni Shia thing. That's just the way the society functions out there, unfortunately. Again, it's not prevalent. It's not. You're not going to walk down the street and everyone's pointing a gun at you. It's not America where people are just going to turn up all the.
It is an NWFP, isn't it? That's what it's like up there, right? I've not been there, by the way. I've been to Islamabad and Kashmir, but I've not been there. Yeah. Mamouna says, if some Shia groups curse Sahaba, which they do every now and then there would be a reaction from Sunni side. There's no outer factor involved. Muslim says, "Oh, Muslim, he's got a bee in his bonnet about you." Oh well, okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm not deliberately choosing the anti-Nazim comments here. Mamouna says that there's no genocide. Shall I read this one out or not? Okay, it exists. I'm going to read it out. Oh no, actually. So Rafidis have been arrested and charged by the authorities in Pakistan who have involved in martyrdom of ulamas. Is that correct?
I don't know who he's referring to as Rafidi there. I'm supposed.
I assume he's talking about Shias generally, but I think he's talking about perhaps historical violence in the past that Shia armed groups have carried out.
Unfortunately, there has been historical violence from extremist Sunnis and extremist Shias, but the ulama from both sides are being very clear about this, and it's about bringing people together, bringing people as brothers and sisters of one another together. Like I said, this exists in a vacuum, which now and then gets punctured, and air is let in order to create something. which was attempted to do now.
What countries will support Pakistan if things do escalate? Any ideas, Nazim?
Oh, escalate in what way? In sectarian violence?
Violence? Will Iran come in on the side of the Sunnis, the Shia, and Saudi Arabia come in on the side of the Sunnis?
That's a very wrong way to look at this interpretation. That's equating that both will support extremist elements. We have to understand Saudi Arabia is a country that recognizes the state of Israel pretty much, and is in conflict with Pakistan over the Kashmir issue, India, etc., and the OIC and all this. So there's a lot of reasons why they want to slap Pakistan and give them a bit of a hiding for not towing the line.
But I guess there is this common perception that ultimately Saudi Arabia and Iran are kind of at loggerheads throughout the Middle East, but also the wider Muslim world. Pakistan will come under that category. They all are funding their own sides for their own geopolitical reasons, and the result is chaos. What would you say to that?
Look, that's a different debate about who's doing what and to what extent they're doing and for what reasons they're doing. But based on personal experience and what I know is that the Muslims in Pakistan, be it Sunni or Shias, enjoy each other's company as much as anyone else. They have families, they're intermarried, they work together, do business together, they sing together, they dance together. If you want the full spectrum of society, everything just gets on as normal. You look at the Ramadan programs, the ulama sit together, and this, that, and the other. So what we've got to understand is it's not about Iran or Saudi Arabia here. It's about saying which countries benefit from this unity in Pakistan.
Okay. All right. Let's take a final few comments, Nazim, before I let you go. And Jazakallah khair for sticking around for the comments. Rajaul says Shia and Sunni used to coexist. They are simply a group of a different teaching school, a different sect in Islam. We all need to unite as one ummah. Ish says the people who curse the Sahaba and the wives of the Prophet are not Muslim.
He's an LFC supporter.
Can't be.
He's a Liverpool Football Club supporter.
That's Milla Ibrahim Hanifa says, can't be brothers and sisters with the creed that believes the caliphate was usurped by the parents of the Prophet. Figures revered by majority of Muslims. Majority Waqar says majority of Sunnis, Barelvi orientation are vehemently anti-Saudi. So, I mean, Nazim, before we conclude and I let you go, I am going to press you one last time because for me, it seems that I know that this difference has existed for 1,500 years or 1,400 years. But it does seem to me that there is a way, at least to dampen the tensions. I'm not one of these people who believes that everything is going to be hunky-dory in the world. But in order to dampen the tensions, basically Shias could stop cursing the Sahaba and Sunnis could stop making takfir. That seems to me a premise by which there could be a cooling of tensions on both sides and more harmony and cooperation on mutually beneficial projects.
That's assuming that Sunnis do takfir and Shias curse the Sahaba. Again, I go back to my initial point. Sunnis do not do takfir. There are extremist elements within what you're calling Sunnis that do takfir. There are extremist elements within the Shias who will curse. And both of them are supported from external sources.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Nazim Ali. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Roshan.
And braving the negative comments as well.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that was Nazim Ali. I've tried to be fair today. It would be easy for me to get one side on and not the other side, but I've tried to be fair to all points of view. I can't please. I mean, to be honest, I don't like doing these sectarian shows where we talk about different sects because no one is going to be pleased with me. Everyone's going to be annoyed with me. Everyone's going to say, "Oh, you didn't take that side. You didn't take this side," etc., etc. And it does my head in, quite frankly. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. We've had a good show. We've had loads of comments. Inshallah, I hope that it's been an education it has for me. I'm certainly not an expert on Pakistan, so I don't want to delve too deeply into this. I certainly do not want to stoke sectarian tensions in a country of 200 million people, I think, 80% Sunni, 20% Shia. That could be a complete bloodbath. We don't want to see that happening at all. I personally do feel that it doesn't make any sense for Shia armed groups to have done this unless they're completely crazy. I think India has done it. They've basically signposted they've done it in the past. Commanders have said the way to subvert Pakistan, or one of the ways to subvert Pakistan, is to exploit the fault lines like Baluchistan and the Sunni Shia tensions. I would repeat that I'm a Sunni Muslim myself. I always will be. But ultimately, I do believe that a way out of this would be for Shias to stop cursing the Sahaba and for Sunnis to stop doing takfir. I know that's very simplistic. I know that I'm basically simplifying a huge issue which ultimately great ulama for 1400 years have failed to sort out. Perhaps I shouldn't be talking about it or commenting on it whatsoever due to my lack of knowledge. So I'll end it there. But I do think that perhaps could be the basis for a peaceful and harmonious future. This was The Big Picture with me, Roshan Mohammed Salih, the editor of 5 Pillars. Jazakallah khair. I'll see you guys next week. We will probably take the show a little bit early next week. Of course, I put it at the very strange time at 6:45 because I didn't want to interfere with Maghrib and Isha Salah. But inshallah, next week we might start the show a little bit earlier. That's it from me, Roshan Mohammed Salih. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.